Hello and welcome to India Today. I'm Siddharth Zarabi and joining me today is a very special guest, the Managing Director of the International Monetary Fund, Kristalina Georgieva. Welcome to the show. You were here at the AI Impact Summit in New Delhi, a massive gathering. And given all that you've been seeing and observing, I want your first key takeaways about the AI Summit and what do you think it has really delivered so far?
Let me start with namaste.
Thank you very much. I have to respond in kind.
It is great to be in India, especially for an event so dynamic and inspiring. What the summit does is to bring not just the world together, but to bring the developing world in India to meet with those that are ahead on this journey. What India is doing in AI is phenomenal because the goal of India is to democratize AI. What is the biggest risk we face? That AI is going to open the accordion of opportunities too widely. The haves and the have-nots may have a big distance in between. What India is saying is it need not be that way. We can work to make AI a source of benefit for the whole of society. And we, India, are determined to help the rest of the world, especially the global south, to benefit from AI. My two big takeaways. One, AI is already here. And the speed with which it is affecting the way we work, we live, we interact with each other, is so high, highest in the history of technological transformation. We risk falling behind if we don't lean forward with everything we have. Two, it is a tremendous source of excitement and opportunity. But it also brings risks. And we have to embrace the opportunities of higher productivity, higher growth, and manage the risks, especially the risks of displacement of workers. And that, for us at the IMF, is a very important objective to help our members grab the opportunities, manage the risks. And here, in India, during the AI Summit, I learned a lot about ways we can do it.
On the labor front, and you're an economist all your life, you've studied this issue, how significant is this risk? Because for the developing world, labor displacement will be a bigger risk, one would imagine, than other parts of the world.
So what we know is the following. Already there is evidence that the impact on labor market is very significant. I mean, AI is like a tsunami hitting the labor market. We assess 40% of jobs globally, 60% in advanced economies, to be impacted by AI in the next years, either enhanced, made more productive, or replaced. And when we study concretely what is happening, we find a very interesting story. Already in the United States, 1 in 10 jobs require AI-enhanced skills, and it pays more. People in these jobs with more money in their pockets, they spend more, and that creates demand for low-skill workers in restaurants, in hotels, in entertainment. The total impact on employment, surprisingly, in areas we studied, is positive. But it is positive because of the increase of low-paying jobs. So what is happening is we have one part of the labor force getting better pay because of better skills, another part of the labor force getting jobs but with less pay, low-paying jobs, and who is squeezed? The middle. The jobs in the middle that are neither enhanced nor created as low service jobs they get, in relative terms, squeezed. We also see automation eliminating entry-level jobs. So recent graduates, they worry, where is the job for me? And this is where attention of policymakers needs to go. We are not helpless. What we can do is first redefine education for the era of AI. Learn to learn and be adaptable in terms of how you adjust to jobs. 2, put in place good social safety nets. So if people for a while are displaced, they have something to lean on for themselves and their families. There is a very good system, Flex Security, in Denmark. I highly recommend that for this world of AI, we create that flexibility in the labor market, and actually congratulations to India for the labor market reforms, but we combine that flexibility with security, with helping people to adjust.
That's a very good prescription that might be needed in the days ahead. Just one more follow-up on the subject of AI, and this is to do with the AI arms race. These are my words, but you understand this as an economist. The oil economy had haves and have-nots. We've seen that in other spheres. The United States is advocating that the globe should use the American stack. China has a certain stack. India is going down a different path. What is your own assessment of the path that India seems to be choosing, that is to use what exists elsewhere, also a foundational model that has just been announced in India, and build applications for public good, healthcare, in education? Is that the right way for a country like India?
For India, this is the right way. Why? India invested over the last years in digital public infrastructure. It is foundation for AI to be more accessible to more people, to be applicable in more areas. India created digital ID for 1.4 billion people, and that gave a big boost to the digital economy. Now comes AI, and to make it beneficial for more people, it is appropriate to think of models that are specifically designed for a sector or for a particular activity. And that democratization of AI is what I started with, is impressive in India. Now, where the world is headed, inevitably there will be different paths. And the issue is, how about the developing world, the countries that risk falling behind? And there, I think the model that India is developing for India may be more applicable than the high-tech corporate model of the United States. What matters today is that we think ahead, independent of which path is chosen. What should we be most worried about? And frankly, I think our biggest worry should be guardrails. We want AI for good, not for evil. We want AI that protects dignity and the rights of humans. And that requires more attention to the ethical foundation of AI and much more attention to what are the guardrails we have to collectively, as humanity, put in place. And there, engagements like this summit are very helpful because they bring the tech world with policymakers, leaders from different countries, and they create space to think through how to go about a transformative technology that brings enormous opportunities. We see this potentially lifting global growth by 0.8%. Just to give the audience a sense, what does it mean? It means that we will have growth globally above the pre-pandemic level. Right now, it's anemic 3.3%. We can break out of this path of low growth, high debt with AI. But for productivity growth and economic growth to benefit the world, we have to pay attention to the risks, and we have to work together as global community in a world that is more fragmented today than it was before the AI revolution.
But equally, if guardrails are necessary, and one would agree with you, how do you ensure that innovation doesn't get curbed due to regulation, over-regulation?
Well, that is the trickiest question. I think the only answer to the question is to work together and identify what are the biggest risks and how we can put guardrails for those, and do that very carefully, because you're right, innovation is what drives prosperity, and we have seen far too many times suffocating innovation with excessive regulation. India, over the last years, has worked hard to reduce the regulatory burden. I would argue that this is an area where more can be done to implement the great reforms that India has mustered over the last years. And I think that culture of creating space for innovation, but managing risks that could come from bad behavior, that balance is one that needs to be, we need to aspire for. Not an easy one, but it can be done. Can be done when we all work together. And to finish on that point, many thanks to Prime Minister Modi, to India, for bringing us for this AI summit here in Delhi.
Can and should Europe also deregulate?
So in Europe, I happen to know Europe very well. I was EU Commissioner, Vice President of the European Commission for a while.
Yes.
In Europe, the understanding now is that there is red tape that needs to be taken out. But Europe thinks about it as efficient regulation, effective regulation. The term deregulation they avoid using because they don't want to send the signal that everything goes. That there are no protection for workers and for the well-being of citizens. And yes, Europe must implement its single market to the fullest, something that Mario Draghi and Letta have been advocating for. Europe needs a 28 regime for firms. So if you go to Europe and you register in Germany, what you do is applicable in all 27 countries. Europe needs capital market union. Europe needs free movement of skills across the union and a unified energy system. All of this has to be done with optimal regulatory requirements, not with the regulatory capacity of Europe that it has today. So yes, simplify.
Absolutely. That's a very good point. You spoke about AI adding to global growth and taking it to pre-pandemic levels. I want to understand from you. You also spoke about fragmentation, particularly for me, the question really that I want you to answer is, what's your sense about the long-term consequences of the changes in the tariff order, particularly from the United States, which is the largest consuming economy in the world, in the medium to long term, Madam? Do you think it's going to have a positive impact for growth, or is it uncertain?
What we have seen is very interesting. When the US announced tariffs, it was at a level much higher than what effectively the tariff level is today. So they move in a direction of moderating the tariffs they proposed. But most importantly, how did the rest of the world react? The rest of the world said, thank you, but no thank you. And not only countries continue by and large to trade under the rules that have been established over decades, but there is a uptake of trade agreements, regional, cross-regional. India has its trade agreement with the UK, with the EU. a tariff agreement with US, working on other trade agreements. That uptick shows that if globally we might be in a more difficult place to have uniform rules, countries would respond by regional, sub-regional integration. Here in South Asia, there is tremendous potential to deepen trade integration within the sub-region that for sure India can lead and benefit from. So my projection is the following. We are in a multipolar world. This is a reality. And therefore, it would be more complex to have trade relations established. There would be more bilateral, plurilateral agreements. But the world would continue to trade. Supply chains will continue to cross borders. Why? Because we are integrated. We cannot pull apart. There is no going back to some place where everybody relies only on its own capacity. And if you go back in history, this is what we have been doing for thousands and thousands and thousands of years, trading. Trade is like water. You put an obstacle, it goes around it.
As we wind down this conversation, I want to ask you, is that your biggest worry, that with the new multipolar arrangements and the new evolving trade order, that there will be many countries that will be left behind? The global trade order as it existed lifted many countries out of poverty. It created jobs. It created a global supply chain. Do you worry that that is going to suffer?
My biggest worry is that we are in a more shock-prone world. We have seen the pandemic, the war in Ukraine, inflation spike, high interest rates, one after another after another. Climate shocks are hitting many countries dramatically. This will continue. And what has happened over the last couple of years is twofold. One, many countries have exhausted their fiscal capacity to respond to shocks. They borrowed to help their businesses and their people, and now level of debt is high, level of growth is disappointing. When the next shock comes, rich countries are not going to be there to pour tons of money with the positive spillover for the rest of the world. It's just not possible. So this is my first worry. We exhausted buffers, we have to rebuild them. My second worry is then when a shock hits, what you said is going to be a tragedy in the making. The smaller, poorer countries, actually big poor countries, they will be most dramatically impacted. And the world has weakened its collective capacity of solidarity in a moment of shock. I very much welcome the emerging market economies like India, like Brazil, that are saying we have to nurture solidarity because it is the right thing to do, but also because in an unstable world, there are risks for everyone. It is a matter of economic security not to let countries fall behind. I feel privileged as the head of the IMF because our job is to come to the rescue to countries in trouble. Right now we have 50 programs. One is right next to you in Sri Lanka.
Yes.
Why so many? Because so many countries are experiencing difficulty and because official development assistance has gone down. Yes, I'm proud we help countries, but I worry that it should not be only the IMF to be there for them.
Finally, a message. India, a bright spot globally in terms of its own domestic growth, 7% plus, give or take a few. But the weakening climate consensus, is that a worry for countries like India?
It is a worry for everybody who cares about the future of our children and grandchildren. because the risks of climate change are real. They're already materializing in many places. And India has many parts of the country that are vulnerable to climate shocks. But I also would say this is an opportunity for India, opportunity for leadership. The International Solar Alliance is one example, how India can step up and make sure that for its own people and for the betterment of the world, it is taking that leadership role. I see a lot in this growth boost in India that is great for the world. One, India contributes significantly to global growth, but also by being a dynamic, innovation-driven economy, it sheds light for other countries to follow. And I see very often excitement that other countries can follow in your footsteps.
Absolutely. Madam Managing Director, you've taken time to answer all these questions and give us a sense of how we are placed both at the macro level and at this moment in the age of AI. I thank you very much for your time. With that, it's a wrap on this conversation. If you've been, thank you very much for watching.
If you like the video, do like, comment, share and subscribe.